Everybody, Jake and Gino coming back at you with round 2 of Good Money Habits. G-Father, how you doing today?
Mr. Stenziano, if y'all didn't hear Good Money Habits Part 1, go listen to it last week because this is going to dovetail right into Part 2 of having good money habits. It all starts with you taking control of your financial future. People with financial intelligence can change the world for the better. That's what we like to say, Jake and Gino. Now, when you start thinking about good money habits, I want you to break down money and what you earn into 4 buckets: spending, saving, investing, and charity. Charity is great. I'm going to let Jake talk about gratitude a little bit because I think he's been practicing gratitude a lot in the last few weeks. He was talking about certain instances with his kids. Gratitude is great and charity is great for one thing. Gratitude trumps fear. When you're grateful for what you have, and when you're charitable, and it's not just charitable with money, it can be charitable with time, it can be charitable with words, it can be charitable with thinking about someone else and helping somebody else out. And it's not just stroking a check, but those 4, when you can understand that your dollars are little soldiers and working, and we have to put them into those 4 buckets and allocate them. Now, you can allocate them any way you want. I'm trying to hit 10% of my money going to charity. It's difficult with having 6 kids, trying to do that. I'm trying to allocate at least 10% of my money to go into investing, right? Then we actually have the spending, and we actually have the saving, right? The spending for me, it's 70%. The saving and investing, trying to do between 10 and 20%, and in charity is another 10%. As you start earning more income, though, you don't have to increase your lifestyle, right? That's what people do. They get a job, they get raised, all of a sudden they need a nicer car, so their spending goes up. No, your spending should be staying at baseline, and that additional should be going to saving to buying those assets.
Yeah, the gratitude piece is really interesting. I have a planner. I follow it very, very much in a disciplined format, and every day I have certain things that I hit, whether it's meditating, following a diet, exercising. I have to stretch. I'm getting old. I got like the back problems, but also I'm reading. It's all being documented every day, just so I don't miss. But then I started adding this gratitude. I hear people talking about it. I'm saying, well, what's this all about? And here's the deal. We were able, and we're fortunate that we're able to do this because we have great folks working with us and great folks on the team to provide over 20,000 meals to our charity this year. So we fed over 20,000 kids at Thanksgiving. And the thing that happens is all of a sudden that day happened. It was cool. Then tomorrow hits and the day after. And what I started to realize, if I take a minute every morning and I think back to the prior day or what's happened in the last month, and then just sit with those wins for a minute, it puts you in a different state. It puts you into a different mindset. And you're able to just reground into those moments and then really appreciate it versus it's, oh, great, we did it, on to the next one, and you completely forget it. And it's that piece that really makes you appreciate, and actually it richens your life to a certain extent. It's amazing. And so I've been doing it. It's been something that has just increased my state, and I think I've just not to be cliche, but been more grateful for it. So
And Jake, what it makes you do is it makes you take advantage of the day, and it makes you grateful, like you said, for what you have. You appreciate what you have, and you look at it, and things could be worse. There's always people who are better than us and people who are worse for us. Let's be grateful for right now that I'm on this call with Jake and I'm sharing this information for you. That's what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful to have this partnership. There's a lot of things that I'm grateful for. And once you're grateful, like I said, you can't be in the state of fear. You can't be afraid because you're out there, you're being grateful and you're being charitable. Now, let me give you a couple of steps that everyone can start right now, especially if you're starting out in the financial world. The first thing you need to do is you need to have an emergency budget right there. You need to have a balance of money set aside. What we call it a surplus. You need to have X amount of money. I don't know where you live. I don't know what that looks like. I know that I have set aside $1,000. Something goes wrong, my car has to get fixed. My air conditioner goes out. I am not freaking out because I don't have the money in my checking account. That money is sitting there. I use it. It gets depleted. That's the first thing that gets put back in because I don't want to have a stressful day. Can you imagine if you're trying to work or you're trying to raise a family and you have a big budget, big emergency problem, and then all you're stressing about is not having the money? Could you imagine if you just went into your drawer or you went to your checking account and you could stroke that check for that expense? What an amazing feeling that is. Start creating that emergency surplus for you and keep that thing funded. Don't touch it. That's very, very important. The next thing I would say, if you have a lot of credit card debt, start paying it down. Start slaying those dragons, because those are high interest rates. We're borrowing money at 3%, Jake and I, right? That's smart debt. People are borrowing interest at 18 to 20% on credit cards.
Ugh,
That's not smart debt. So
that's
start
a
to
death spiral.
understand that is, and you start getting in that trap. Start to understand that once you get that debt off your back, you're like a slave. You're like a prisoner to the credit cards. It's just the way you feel. You feel liberated that you're able to pay those off and take control. That will give you so much power. The
Sounds like
next one.
what do they call it? Like payday lending? Like that's criminal, right? Compared to what's going on out there. I mean,
Yeah, and
you look
credit.
at it, they're borrowing the money at nothing, and then they're lending it out at 18%. Man, we're in the wrong business.
That's called the velocity of money. If they borrow money at 1% and they're lending it and getting 18%, they're not making 18%, they're making 18 times on their money. That's why they lend money to everybody. And that's why if they have to default on some debt, they will write it off, because they are making an exorbitant amount of money on fees, late fees, and interest fees.
So it just keeps stacking. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the person paying 18% on the credit card, or do you want to be the person borrowing at 3% and having residents pay down that mortgage for you?
Yes, I 100% agree, Jake. Now, once you have that emergency surplus and you're paying down your debt, you need to start saving 3 to 6 months of salary on the side as a surplus. Because guess what? If you decide to leave your job, like I did at the restaurant a few years ago, I had that surplus. I went to real estate full time. If I hit a rough patch, I had that surplus to pay my expenses. Guess what? If we decide that there's another pandemic coming down the road and you lose your job, you have that comfort of having a few months of salary on the side. It's an amazing relief. Like I said, oh, wow, I'm going to switch careers, or I want to go on vacation for a month. You can't do that if you don't have money saved. If you have that 3 to 6 months worth of money saved on the side, you can do that. The quality of your life is going to be determined by the quality and the quantity of your options. If you have more options in life, if you're able to take that money out and say, I'm going to take a month off, boss, you can do that. That option is amazing. Start by saving 3 to 6 months of your salary.
And I know I keep harping on the multifamily stuff, but look, these are core values that extend into your business life as well. In the multifamily space, we call this CapEx reserves. Same thing in your personal life. These good habits and values carry over into your business. And basically all that is when we have a capital expenditure, a roof needs to be replaced, we set that money aside every month so we have that to take from. Your business is ultimately going to be set up like your personal life when you get to this level.
Jake, this is really important. I want to share a story with everybody. Last year when the pandemic hit, I remember we're in a tough business. We have to collect rent from residents. Jake and I did not freak out. We had reserves set aside, and we had personal reserves as well. It gave us the option to retain all of our employees. It gave us the option to continue to grow our business. That is truly important. That option actually made our lives so much better and so much easier, that if we were just loaded with debt and we couldn't pay our obligations, it would have been really tough. But like Jake said, we did have reserves set aside personally and business-wise, and we were able to lean on those to get us through, quote unquote, the tougher times, and we came out on the other side a lot stronger. So it's really, really important, everybody.
The crazy thing is we're not like, this is why communication, and sometimes Gino and I, we've learned that we need to communicate more to the folks on our team. Our team members were freaking out. We're sitting there telling everybody, gang, our number one goal is to not lay anyone off. And that was the first thing we came out and said. But people were still like, are they just saying that to us? And we realized that people needed that over communication and that transparency, because they didn't know that we had $3 million sitting there on the side waiting in case, something like that were to happen. It was an eye-opening experience, because we're like, okay, hey, let's get it out in front of this and let everybody know. But there was still like these freak out moments where folks like, well, what's the plan? I'm like, guys, we have the plan. We're set up. We're built for this. And so it was kind of an interesting dynamic. But I think the key was that sometimes, and if you look at the Rockefeller habits, you have to have that transparency and that over communication, especially with like the millennial generation.
Love that, Jake. The last one is, once you've taken care of your emergency, once you've taken care of paying down debt, once you've taken care of saving 3 to 6 months, now it's time to start saving money to start buying
Build it
assets.
back up. Well, you got to build those. If you do use those reserves, you got to build it back
You
up.
got to build them back up. Exactly. That is your emergency right there. The next one is start building for your financial future, right? 10% of your salary at least has to go into what we call a financial freedom account, an account where you're starting to save that money wisely to buy investments. If you can't start with 10%, start with 1% and start increasing that money slowly until you can at least get 10% of your money in there. Really, really important.
Hey, and then when it gets really interesting is when you can do 30, 40, 50, 60%, and then you take that money and you put it into an asset, and then you keep rinse and repeating, and then that snowball of cash flow starts to really flow. That's when things get very interesting.
Yep. Let me wrap this up by there's 4 steps here that I've written down. Number 1, you need to use credit wisely with good money habits. Number 2, you need to educate yourself on investing. Really, really important. Number 3, we said it in last week's video, create your personal financial statement and your net worth. And if you've got real estate, your schedule of real estate owned. You want to be prepared. You want to be tracking yourself. If you can't measure it, then you can't manage it. Let me say that again. If you can't measure it, then you can't manage it. Same thing when you're creating a budget. That's number 4. Everyone write that down. Number 4 is creating a budget. If you can't measure what's going on, then you can't manage your life. And managing your life is all about you taking control of yourself. Now, if you like these videos, click on a link down below. Subscribe to the Jake and Gino channel. Mr. Stenziano, next week, we're going to talk about creating a sinking fund. That's a lot of fun. Did that with my parents.
I don't want to sink whole. All right.
No, we're going to sink some cash, bro. Sink some cash into an envelope. Good. Really important. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone.